Alright, I wanted to share with you 3 of the best countries for dating in 2024, and something that will be different about this video than what you're probably used to is that I'm gonna make this unbiased and I'm gonna work in as much truth, as much pros and cons as I possibly can in the few minutes that we have. Now, I wanna also give you a few examples. The good thing about all these countries is that they all start with a P. This is good. Let's start out with the first country, Poland. Poland is an interesting place. I want to start out here with a story of a business associate that I was working with many years ago. He was an African-American guy and he decided to marry a Polish girl. Now, why am I pointing out that he's African-American? Well, for one reason. There are many people that say, hey, Eastern Europe and Poland, you know, it's very xenophobic and blah, blah, blah. There are certain types of people everywhere, and Poland is no exception. You know, you can find people of certain characters, people with certain thoughts everywhere. Anyway, going back to this friend of mine, this business associate, he was telling me about how he married this Polish girl, and back then they were already together for over a decade and the relationship was working very well. He worked in America, so they got married a long time ago, probably was much longer than 10 years, and they visited Poland every now and then. And he was a very happy guy. And like I told you, they were already married for a long time, well over 10 years, and the relationship was working very well. He did what he could to help her get what she wants, so they ended up visiting Poland. In the summertime, they went there a lot for like a month or 2 months, and they lived in America. So it's kind of like the great balance, and so that's why I recommend, you know, if you're with a girl, make sure that she also gets what she wants. If you only focus on what you want, but you don't help your partner get what she wants, it's a recipe for disaster. It doesn't matter what time we're living in. It doesn't matter whether we're talking about a feminine or feministic woman. It's a recipe for disaster. Anyway, the reason why I'm pointing out race here is because so many people are saying, hey, you know, if you're a man of color, you will never have success in Poland's dating scene. So that is untrue. And like I told you, what I know from the people that I've worked with, and he's just one example. I know quite a few guys that have gotten married to Polish girls and that are happily married. It always depends on how you play your cards, okay? You're dealt a certain hand. Whether you lose or not depends on how you play. And how much you lose, if you lose, also depends on how you play your hand. Just remember that. But generally speaking, Polish women, you have the whole spectrum, okay? You have women that are still very feminine, but you also have women that value feminism. You know, they want to be independent, this and that, but what I'm going to say here is that Polish women, they oftentimes have no problem moving with you abroad. They are very open-minded. Not all of them, some of them. You find a lot of girls that are not open-minded. They just want to stay in Poland and they're happy with their life there, and you also can't say anything bad about it. To each their own. But there are many women that would happily move with you abroad because it's natural to them. Like from the people that I've known who have gotten married to like Polish women, who've been in relationship with Polish women, it's probably quite similar to being with a Russian girl. They're more independent in the sense that they are not super dependent on their families. It's quite normal for them to go abroad, leave their families. Doesn't mean they abandon their families, no, but they leave their families to go live abroad. It's quite normal actually. If you want that kind of lifestyle, if you want to go live in different places and you want to be with a girl that speaks English fluently, that doesn't have a problem being far away from her family, then maybe a Polish girl is not, you know, a bad deal. You can actually make that happen. And there are many examples that I can name you, but we want to focus on other details too. Now, Polish women, a lot of them are pretty tall. You find a lot of them blue-eyed, blonde hair. I'm not telling you anything new here, so, but just the general misconception that people from this part of the world are very xenophobic is not true. In some instances, it's probably true, and you can probably name some examples if you have experienced that, but there are many women that are not, you know, so even if you're not a white man, you might still have great success in Poland's dating scene. And my business contact is the best example of that. But he's also a great guy. He's a nice guy. I'm sure he treats his wife very nicely. He's a great guy. So he deserves her and she deserves him. Great relationship. Now, if you want to go live in Poland, just to point out a few things here, as a tourist, if you're from a Western country, you get a 90-day tourist visa. Unless you're from Europe, you know, you can enjoy freedom of movement. If you're from the EU, if you're an EU citizen, if you're an American, Canadian, you go there on a tourist visa. If you want to go there to date, probably best to go in the summertime unless you're used to pretty cold and brutal winters. You know, that's what Poland is. So a lot of people go to like Krakow, they go to Warsaw, but I typically go in like, you know, May. I would say from May through September, the weather's pretty good. But if you go there in like December or spring, autumn, whatever, and you're not used to the harsh climate, you might not like it as much. So you got to factor all of that in, right? So the weather's best from May through September. So if that matters to you, if you want to be in Poland when it's warm or cool, May through September does it for you. If you don't mind cold weather, you can go anytime you want. Like anything, and I think this goes without saying, don't splash your cash. I'm not saying you can't talk about your profession, but money can't buy love, okay? It's just what it is. I'm not saying, oh, a girl shouldn't be attracted to money. No. We're a man of character. We're a man of diligence. We're a man of, traditional values. If you're on this channel, you're looking for a traditional woman. A lot of guys are. I'm not saying that feminism is bad. I mean, certain things might not be very attractive to you, and certain things you might not, have too much of a problem with. The fact that women can work, that's what feminism created. But feminism also created other things that a lot of men in our audience are not very happy with. So there's good and bad, right, for both parties. So if you're an American, Canadian, Australian, New Zealander, or from Europe, you're going to have good success in Poland's dating scene. If you want to live there, if you want to find a girl that's not so open to new ideas, that's not so open to going to different places, you can find that too. Or if you want to be with a girl that's more independent in terms of living away from her family, let's say you want to take her, go live with you in America and Canada, or anywhere in the world for that matter, you can find that in Poland. So it's not one or the other, you can have both. The next country I wanted to talk with you about is the Philippines. The Philippines is a country that I think has proven the most consistency over the past couple of years in terms of like visa policies, in terms of openness. Like the Filipino mentality hasn't really changed that much. Americans are very welcome in the Philippines, and I think that's important. I also think that's not true for the whole region. We've seen a lot of anger towards foreigners in nearby countries, and that's why I don't recommend people to go there anymore, not even on a vacation. There are certain countries that you probably want to avoid going forward. The Philippines is not such a country for the simple reason that Filipinos love Americans, they love Westerners. You don't want to go to a place where you feel resentment from the locals. That's the last thing that you want, especially when you're dating. And with Poland too, a lot of Polish women are very open-minded. They're very open to dating a foreigner. In the Philippines, this is very, very widely spread. Like Filipino women, they love Western expats. Seriously, they love Western nomads. They love Americans, Canadians, Europeans. They love people from Latin America. Like in the Philippines, anybody's welcome. It's a very welcoming culture. It's a very warm culture. And I feel like that's very important. If you want to go to a place, not thinking about will I be liked, will I not be liked. This is very important. Like in today's world where we see rising resentment in many places, the Philippines has consistently shown warmth towards foreigners. And this is very important. Like if you want to be welcomed, genuinely welcomed by people, the Philippines is a great place for that. And like I told you, not much has changed over the past couple of years. And I'm having many friends in the Philippines living there happily. Many have found Filipino wives, Filipino girlfriends. Of course, there are certain things you have to be aware of. Like in Poland, you don't splash your cash, you don't brag about how much money you have, just common sense stuff. But finding a traditional woman, if you want that, go to the Philippines, you're probably going to be very successful. In terms of visa policy, not much has changed. You can go live in the Philippines pretty much on a tourist visa. If you're a retired guy, guess what? You can get a retirement visa, and even that has not changed. So in nearby countries like Malaysia, Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, the visa situation has changed multiple times throughout the past years, especially the past health crisis. But in the Philippines, everything has pretty much stayed the same. And that's why I think it's a pretty good place. If you're an American, if you're a Canadian, you want to go live in the Philippines, you want to be in a place that has shown consistency in terms of welcoming foreigners, in terms of visa policy, in terms of just how the place makes you feel, go to the Philippines. For us, there's no need to recommend the Philippines in this video. I personally do not profit from the Philippines. I'm just recommending the Philippines to a guy who wants to live in Southeast Asia and who's gotten accustomed to that kind of culture and wants to stay there. I just think the Philippines is probably the best place. Lastly, Paraguay. Paraguay is a place that we're backing, so if you think that this is biased, think whatever you want. Paraguay is a place where foreigners are also very welcome. And people who have traveled to different Latin countries, a lot of them say that Paraguay is one of the most welcoming Latin countries. It's also one of the most unheard of Latin countries. Now, Paraguay is a landlocked country. It does not have access to the ocean, which makes it a bit less interesting to people that seek a different lifestyle, which makes sense. If you want to have the beach and that, okay, maybe Paraguay is not the place for you. But in terms of just the people, and I've had quite a few experiences. For instance, I arrived at the airport and met some great people on the plane, just waiting at the airport overseas. People approached me, started talking to me, this kind of openness to foreigners and this kind of ease of communication that I get. And this is the same in the Philippines too, okay? And this is in Paraguay too. Like the countries that are closer to the equator, they're just more welcoming in many ways, you know, in many instances. I'm not saying all of them are, but many are. And I had these experiences, you know, where I felt like, wow, why can't Western countries be like that anymore? Where you go to a country and you feel like so welcome, or even before you go to the country at the airport where you're sitting with the locals, they start approaching you, start talking to you, having a good time together. Isn't that what you want before you or going there? I mean, this is just great. I feel like in terms of just, you know, having a good time with the people, these places are great. Now, Paraguayan women, okay, there are a few differences here. They're very communal, like in the Philippines, it's the same thing. And Latina women, and again, I'm not throwing all in one basket here, but many, they love their families. They love family life. They value their collectivist society. They want to have children. In Paraguay, there are many women that have 5 children. Still today, many women with 5 children. Yeah, it's declining. And hopefully this trend won't accelerate because we don't want that. I really appreciate collectivism. Individualism is great too. And I always believe that the sweet spot is in the middle. You want to get the best of both worlds. You know, you don't want to be on one extreme or the other. I don't believe in that. I believe in more of a center approach, just like in politics. I believe in that in real life too. I'm more of a center approach. You want to focus on work, but you also want to focus on family life. It's just a more healthy medium than one extreme or the other. It's just my personal opinion. But Paraguayan women, a lot of them are open to dating a foreigner. And if you want to live here, if you want to have a quiet life, if you want to live in a country where the government leaves you alone, where it's more laid back, and this is a very peaceful place. Like, it's a very peaceful place, so I'm not gonna lie to you, it's great. In terms of dating, you can find a lot of women that are open to dating Westerners. Not every woman here speaks English fluently, which is a con. Point this out, I'm gonna make this honest, because in certain countries there's just more women that speak English than in others. However, I'm seeing a change in trends here. There are more people that are speaking English than a couple of years ago. How do I know about this? Well, people are telling me. It's just more common now for people to watch movies in English. It's just very common. So it's also more common for people to go abroad, study abroad. There are many people that have been to Europe, many people that have been to North America. And because of that, guess what? They develop English language skills. So you're seeing this more. I'm not saying that English is as widely spoken as in the Philippines, definitely not. But you're finding more people that speak English. So it's a matter of looking for them. This is a collectivist society. Women here value family life more than in many other places. And it's one of the reasons why so many of our clients, so many of our followers are leaving Western countries. They want to find the sweet spot, you know, just where everything's right, where they can be happy, where they can date girls that have a good part of like modern values, but still also want to have a family and children. Paraguay offers one of the best residence permits in the Americas. If you would like to work with us in Paraguay, if you want to come here as a tourist, you get 90 days. But since the temporary residency is a pretty good deal right now, it would make sense for you to get it, explore the dating scene of Paraguay. So if you want to work with us, feel free to reach out to us. What are your thoughts? Do you have any questions about dating in any of the countries that we just discussed? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching this video. We do appreciate you. I also recommend you to join our mailing list on how to survive and thrive in the 21st century. Feel free to click on the link below the video to learn more.